Hi, I'm Jazz Singh, and today I'll be talking about classroom assessment techniques number 19, which are problem recognition tasks. Starting off with a quick intro here. What are problem recognition tasks? I have a three-step process here where students are first presented with a set of problems. Students identify each problem as a certain type of problem. And the third step, which I've kind of added on to expand the exercise, make it a little more interesting, is students decide on an approach which can be used to solve the problem. So let's look a little more closely about exactly how this would work. So we start off with a finance problem. We have a student up here wondering what the heck is going on. And then the second step is identifying this as a present value problem. At third step, we have a nice group setting, students collaborating, just looking at methods of solving the problem. The ideal use for this kind of approach, a big thing is familiarity. Students should already have a good idea what the course concepts are, as this process focuses on applying those uh, concepts. If you choose to do this exercise in a group setting, students should feel comfortable working with their classmates. That's a very important factor. And third, based on the TGI test I took, this CAT emphasizes higher order thinking skills and discipline specific knowledge and skills. So those were the important elements in my classes. So I chose this CAT for that reason. Let's look at some pros and cons. I've included Cobb's experiential learning cycle here. Let's go through it really quickly. The cycle starts off with students having a concrete experience, and then there's a reflection element after the experience, then there's concluding, making your own conclusion and learning from that experience, and finally, including what you've learned in your future behavior. So, in the context of this CAT, I think there's good and bad associated with this. Starting off with good, we have a reflection happening in the kind of the middle of the problem solving process. So students are learning how to identify and how to possibly approach solving a problem, and just reflecting on that whole initial exercise I think is valuable. However, on the downside, we also have to make sure that students understand it's not the entire process. It's not the full learning experience. You have to know how to identify the problem. You have to know how to approach the solution to the problem, solving the problem. But you also have to know that that's not the entire objective here. You also have to know how to solve the problem. So some advantages is that the first one is that it requires a low level of time and energy from the students. So students can kind of jump right in once the activity is set up. It develops problem solving and mathematical skills, which is important in my courses. It can also be used to encourage active learning and collaboration with classmates, so that creates a better learning environment. Students have a little bit more fun than sitting at their desk. It's helpful for exam writing scenarios. So some of you might have experienced a situation where you look at an exam question and you freeze. You don't know where to start. So this process kind of helps with that. So once you know how to identify a problem and kind of know how to get started, you won't freeze. You won't be stuck at step one in an exam. And the last benefit is that it's a quick way to assess student diagnostic skills. That's not only good for the instructor, so you can get feedback if there's something you need to focus on in the classroom. It's also great for the students because it's a self-reflective exercise. So if they're really struggling in their groups, it might be a wake-up call that they have to kind of focus on this to do a better job on their exam. Some limitations. It requires a medium level of time and energy from the instructor to preparation phase. So you have to find the questions, you have to make sure they're appropriate, and you have to set students up. So it's not all that simple. Students may not necessarily be able to complete the problem while identifying the correct type. So I touched on this earlier. So just one part of the problem solving process. You have to make sure that they're also okay with the future steps. And real world problems usually don't fit in neatly into a single type. So a lot of times in the finance world, you might have complex problems, and they might involve a whole array of skills to solve them. So let's look at some best practices here. Ensure that each item only contains one type of problem in sufficient time provided. So this is kind of planning. What you might want to do is get a colleague to help you out here. So get a second set of eyes on the question you've prepared for the students and give the students about 2 or 3 times the amount of time it took your colleague uh, to, to, to go through this exercise. You want to create similar problems, those covered in class, and the one that be included in the exam. So that actually helps students prepare for the exam. It's kind of not a great exercise if you're going away from what's being tested. And provide timely and specific feedback to the learner. So in my case, the feedback would happen right away. Students would complete the exercise, I would look at the solution, give them some feedback, and then go through the exercise as a group with the entire class. So find a way to give good feedback and make it quick. So just to wrap up here, we can use the problem recognition task classroom assessment technique to help students develop a variety of skills. And just to add a little bit to that, I would say be creative with it. Have some fun with it. Add some stuff to it, take some stuff away, whatever you feel works best in your classroom. Let's have a quick look at my references here. And thank you so much.